Welcome to Rick's Corner, brought to you by Old School Labs, the brand I trust and the only one I put my name to. Use my code drasin12 on the link below.
Welcome to Rick's Corner. The man, the myth, the legend. Now on with the show.
Well, I was talking to my friend about my wrestling video back in the day, and he really liked it. And he said, there's a few things that you've left out. And I said, there's probably a lot of things that I left out because it's hard to remember everything. And I've had 5,000 matches, and it's hard to know everybody that I've worked with. I mean, I do know, but I can't come up with 5,000 names. It's way too difficult. Wouldn't you know my phone would go off when I'm on camera? I wanted to mention something that a lot of people don't know because I told him this. Back in those days, you had to have a wrestling license through the Athletic Commission, like boxers. Boxers and wrestlers had licenses in order to get into the ring and wrestle. So you had to pass a physical, you had to pass a background check, fingerprints, eye test, and then you had to go to the commission and pay them $25, and they'd issue you a license of the State of California Athletic Commission. A lot of people don't know this. So we had a doctor at ringside that called Dr. Bernhard Schwartz, and he was a well-credited doctor, and he had an office out in Watts, of all places, because he worked with a lot of welfare people. So he said, if you want your physical, I can give you one, but come out here at 6:30 in the morning. And Jack Armstrong and I would go, and it was like from Santa Monica, downtown LA, past downtown on the other side, and it's quite a bit of a drive. And we pull up, and the place is kind of desolate. Inside, he had papers on the wall of 8x10 pieces of paper. Don't piss on the floor. Make sure that you throw your trash away, and all kinds of things relating to that. Then you go into his office, and he had stacks and stacks of files of papers, almost like a movie, full of cobwebs. They were yellow. And I looked around and said, this is a real doctor? But apparently he was a very good doctor. He removed a safety pin out of a baby's lung and saved his life. So you know he's pretty good. Good guy. He really liked us. He liked being involved in wrestling. And he volunteered his time at the wrestling matches at ringside, which you don't ever see anymore. And he'd take your blood pressure before you go and make sure you're healthy enough to get in the ring. If your blood pressure was too high, he'd make you sit out. So we went in for our physical, and he says, come on in the other room here, I'm going to take some blood. And he put a needle in your arm, and he pulled out all this blood into it. Back then it was glass syringes, and you could see the glass was old. It was getting calcified from hard water. But nevertheless, I hope it was sterile, but he says it was. And then I'm not sure what he did with the blood. I think he might have squirted it into the sink. He just went through the motions. Then he took a lung x-ray, and I'm not sure there was even film in the camera. So then he says, I got to check your eyesight. And he's over on the other side of the room. Can you see me? How many fingers am I holding up? I said 5. He says, good, you can see your opponent. And then you passed the eye test. This is crazy crap, man. And so once he got through with everything and blood pressure and all that, he says, okay, I sign off your physical. Now you've got to go down and get your fingerprints at the sheriff's department and your background check, and then you take both these to the Athletic Commission downtown LA, go up and show them that you passed everything, and they'll issue your license. So basically we did all that, and then once you got down there, they had said, are you wrestling somewhere? Do you have to have a sponsored promoter? So we had one at the Olympic Auditorium, Mike LaBelle, and he sponsored that he was going to give us shows to work. Therefore, you got your license, because you can't go to work in a ring unless you're sponsored by a licensed promoter. This is how it was. You just don't get in a ring and say, I'm a wrestler, because you have to earn the rights to be able to do so. You have to pass the test, and you have to have a license. And the license you have to carry on you. If you ever get in a street fight or a bar fight and you have a license, it's considered a felony. So therefore, you better watch your fists, because you can get in a lot of trouble. So we got our license, and it was an ordeal. And every year we had to go through the same thing over and over. I went into the locker room one night, and Dr. Schwartz was sitting down at the end of the hall checking everybody's blood pressure. And I said, hey, Doc, I'm not feeling really well. I think I got a touch of a cold or a sinus infection. So he reaches in his pocket, and he pulls out about a half a dozen to a dozen antibiotics. He says, here, take these twice a day. That simple. So he would give us almost anything we wanted. I went out to his office again. I said, look, I need to get some Dianabol. He says, go next door to the pharmacy and I'll call it in and you can pick it up, which I did. And then I got tired of making the drive down there. It was just too far to go to pick up anything, and I called them. I said, can you call my pharmacy and give me something over the phone, or give them something over the phone to give me? He says, yeah, have them call me. He always answered his own phone. And the pharmacist calls him. His name was Bob at, I think, Rite Aid Pharmacy, Save-On Pharmacy. He says, I have Rick Drasin here. And the doctor goes, and first he answers the phone and says, yeah, what do you want? He says, I have Rick Drasin here. Is this Dr. Schwartz? Yeah. He says, I have him here. And he went, give him anything he wants. Give him anything he wants. And he hung up. So I said to the pharmacist, what did he tell you? He says, give you anything you want. Jesus, it couldn't have been any easier. And so we did that for quite a while. And then, later on things change and things burn out, whatever. But it's a funny story. It's just these people that you meet, they're just different. And it's almost like the circus. I was watching the tiger movie on Netflix, and he's odd with all the animals and all that. And I was telling somebody, I said, this guy's a showman. He's like a wrestler. He's got a persona, he's got a performance, he knows what he's doing, he knows how to capture people, he's got charisma, and he's got good stage presence. I said, this guy knows how to operate a business, like the carnival, like a circus. So later on I watched a video out of, I think it was out of somewhere back east, Oklahoma. It was an NWA wrestling show in 2016. And who's sitting ringside but Joe Exotic, calling the matches and laughing with his accent, and he's involved in wrestling. So it's kind of weird that my world of wrestling with characters that I worked with was involved in the same world with Joe Exotic from his Tigers. It's just how everything went together. It just fell together like a storyline that was supposed to be. We had different doctors in different towns that would check us, and not all of them were as liberal as Dr. Schwartz. He just did anything we wanted, and it was really good. He'd sit ringside with his stethoscope and his white smock, and he'd watch the matches and get all involved in it. But you never had much call to use him for anything. You just had to have a doctor present. Today's wrestling, I'm not talking about WWE, I'm talking about just the indie shows. None of the guys need a license. None of the guys need an outfit. None of the guys have doctors ringside or anything like that. But we did. And once Vince McMahon declared it entertainment, he took the stigma of athletics off of it. The Athletic Commission had no jurisdiction over the wrestlers anymore. And that was the end of it. Kind of good in a way, because they were real stringent about what you could do. And I ran a show, and I had to have paperwork in a week in advance of every match in my location, and lots of paperwork. They would just put me through the ringer. And then they showed up one night and they wanted to collect taxes, which then it was the Athletic Commission. And then that went away, and I ran some other shows years later under a different name, and they showed up and they said, we need to see your receipts, we want to collect taxes. I said, I don't pay taxes for athletic events anymore. It's useless. It's over with. It's now declared entertainment. So they said, well, we're going to collect entertainment tax. I said, no, you're not. I'm not paying you a dime. So they send me a bill in the mail, and I had a bullshit stamp, a rubber bullshit stamp. And I stamped all over that invoice, and I mailed it back to them, and I never heard another word. That was the end of that. So these are just some tales from the road that were kind of fun. It's just, it's interesting stuff. I mean, it's only once in a lifetime that you can do this, and it's fun to do. And then I'd go to other states to wrestle, and the promoter already arranged and had my license waiting for me when I walked into the dressing room. So it's pretty good. Anyway, that's what I wanted to explain with wrestling. And there was one thing I think I left out. And I don't remember what it was, but no, I don't remember what it was. But it was a funny thing. But if I think of it, I'll bring it back up again. This ought to occupy your time during this time, sitting home and doing nothing and having nothing to do to laugh at. I'll give you a couple of laughs to laugh with, because it is a lot of fun. We had a mat down in San Diego that was a canvas mat in an arena, and when you would shower, these big giant cockroaches would come in there. I mean, they're almost as big as my flip-flops. And then we went into the ring, and I'm running around. All of a sudden, there's a tear in the canvas, and your foot would get stuck, and you'd fall down because the hole was so big in the mat that you couldn't even run over it. You'd trip on it. We had things like that. I worked with one guy that threw up on me. He got sick. The shower smelled like dirty, rusty water and sewer. Up in Oregon, when I wrestled there, we wrestled at farm shows and things like that, and you go in the shower, and there was about 3 inches of water clogged over the drain because the drain had all kinds of crap and hair in it, and guys are pissing in there and they're pissing in the water and you're standing in it. I'll never forget that. These are experiences that you just never live twice, and you never want to do that part again by any means. Had a promoter that was a brother of the regular promoter, and he gave me about $3 extra. He said, "Here, we had a slow house tonight, but I'm going to give you a few extra bucks." He carried a gun, and when people would come to chew him out or try to attack him, he pulled a gun out, and he shot himself in the foot. I'll never forget that. He was crippled up for a couple of months. Well, this is part of the world that we were in, and my parents or my mom could never understand why I would want to be a part of it, because it was an experience and it was fun and we had a good time. And if I had to do over, I enjoyed that just as much as bodybuilding, but bodybuilding was a part of it, because I figured if you're going to have a body and you want to make money, you're not going to make money off a trophy for a contest. You're going to make it from getting paid for being a showman in the ring. And it's the same sort of deal, other than the fact that you're not just standing on stage posing, you're actually in the ring moving around and doing something. So there's a little bit more of the story, and I hope you enjoyed it. My mom didn't like it. She hated it. But she made me a jacket with sequins all over it to wear into the ring, kind of like what Ric Flair wears, because back then that's what we wore into the ring. And of course you take it off and turn your back in the corner, and then someone jumps you, because that's part of what we do. And then one of you asked me about the word kayfabe, K-A-Y-F-A-B-E. What does that mean? Kayfabe is a magic word. It's used in wrestling all the time. And I'll explain how this works. For example, if you and I were talking over a match about what we're going to do, and someone walks in the room, you yell kayfabe. It means you drop what you're doing, look the other way, and drop the conversation, because you don't want them to know what you're talking about. Otherwise, they know how the business works. But then they got rid of that in the 80s, and everything became an open book on the internet that wrestling is fake, which is not fake, it's just predetermined. So the yelling kayfabe didn't mean much. But I taught my boys to say it when I was married to my ex-wife. If she walked in the room, we were talking, just yell kayfabe, so she wouldn't know what we were talking about. So there's ways to use a lot of different things and have fun with it. It is a fun. Someone says you're kayfabing me means that you're not letting me in the conversation, you're shooting me out the door. So I just wanted to explain that to you all. I wish it was still like that, because it was, that's what made the business interesting. You didn't have to open up to everybody what it's all about. Do you really get hurt? Do you really throw fists? Do you really do this? Do you really do that? Well, if you see it, then it's got to be real. There's nothing fake about flying over the rope and landing on the cement on your back and hitting your head. Nothing fake about that. There's nothing fake about hitting a guy with a forearm across the chest so loud you can hear the smack, because they want us to lay them in hard. And there's nothing fake about putting somebody in a hole where you're choking them out and they can't even move because you can't move, or getting hit with a steel chair, which is real. Those are real steel chairs out of the audience, and you get hit with them and you get cut. If they don't hit you just right, it'll split your head open. So those things are real. The only thing that's predetermined is the finish, and that's usually done through the promoter who wants somebody to win, because he's got money on, not money on him, but he's got a market for them to become a hero, and the only way to do that is to build them up. We call those people that win, they're champions, but the people who build them up are carpenters. Those are wrestlers who build that person up and lose to him, and they whittle him into something great, because that's why they call them carpenters or jobbers. So I think I've really explained this pretty well. It's you may not understand it all, but that's how it was back then. And in the 80s and 90s, it started to change, and today it's a different animal. It's nothing even close to what it used to be. It's entertaining for some people and the young kids, because they just see guys jumping around and hitting each other. But there's a whole psychology behind it. It's crowd psychology. It's working the crowd from all four corners of the ring, like a theater in the ring, and trying to get them to love you or hate you, go along with you, and just have a good time. And during a time like when there's a virus like this, or not even a virus, but a world war or anything depressing that hits the world, people will run to wrestling shows because they need a release. They need to let go of their anger. They need to let go of their mind and just have a good time. And watching wrestling was probably one of the best ways to do it. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope I brought you some smile on your face, because that's what it's all about. And I'm smiling, and you better keep on smiling. I love all of you so much. See you next time.
Hope you enjoyed the video brought to you by Old School Labs. Use my discount code DRASIN12 on the link below at oldschoollabs.com.
Hey everyone, now you can have the Gold's Gym logo drawn by me, the artist Rick Drasin,
personalized and made out to you and signed by me to frame and put on your gym wall or wherever you see fit to do so. It's a piece of bodybuilding history. It will never be duplicated again. It's the largest selling icon t-shirt logo in the world. And I'm the guy that drew it, and I will draw it for you. Just go to my website, rickdrasin.com, and order there. You can pay through PayPal, and it'll be sent out right away. And be sure to watch Rick's Corner for all the videos on bodybuilding, nutrition, fitness, pro wrestling, and anything that suits your interest as far as getting physically fit and being the best you can be from the golden era of bodybuilding.
It's Rick Drasin. He's the equalizer, baby. See you next time.